Hi guys, Nadia here, and it is Spiritual Advocacy Friday. And what we do here is I share a couple of banning shame moments that happened during the week. I say that so passionately, don't I? Banning shame moments. But this work has been so powerful to my trauma and addiction recovery, I can't even tell you. Now, to start for basics, spiritually advocating for ourselves and for others is advocating for the only truth that matters, for our souls. We are all infinite beings, whole, divine, and complete in our truest form, and our mind creates a load of fears and judgments of self and others, and it separates us from that truth and from each other. So the term spiritual advocacy came about throughout my journey of recovery. It was, I got to advocate for my true self and my truth. So here on Fridays, we do three things. One is we build self-compassion. Self-compassion is connecting to that only truth that matters, your truth. The more and more that we build self-compassion, the more we are able to be compassionate with others and to have shields around us and protect ourselves, as well as have compassionate responses to others' fears and judgments. I do believe that this will lead to the third, overall a more compassionate society and justice system. So why is shame such a big deal to me? Why do I despise shame? Because shame, honestly, it's a scapegoat. It completely ignores that acts are responses to pain. I would say 95% of addictions, as well as exacerbated mental health problems, are responses to pain in the brain that we've been given, as well as whatever circumstances there are. Shame is, I am unworthy. I am damaged. It connects to like the core source of what we are. Guilt is okay. Guilt is remorse. Guilt is a feeling you can dive into to know this doesn't feel right. I'm not going to do this again. Shame is deep. Shame is so deep, it starts building shame-based thoughts that keep us in the dark, that keep us isolated. That's why I am so much against the shaming of human struggles. So my ban shame moments this week in a very, very cool way have evolved while I'm recording the audiobook. Now, I'm only a couple chapters in, but it's so cool when the power of storytelling, simply sharing our stories, simply reading a story, simply hearing somebody else's story, can help to feel a connection and an understanding with another human being. And in just a slight little way, the shame within reduces. Because we all are human beings that are just walking in a body and with a mind doing the best we can. So I had several ban shame moments this week. One of them related to when I was reading the part of chapter 1 in the book that is my father's story, an amazing story. When his mom was struck with tuberculosis and his dad was away in the war, and he was sent to strangers, and it was a pretty scary time for him. It was also the cause of what ended up being an especially empowering moment for my father. He spilled his water, and the foster parent picked him up by his suspenders and literally threw him out the back door into a pile of trash and manure. And it was in that flight that my father set in stone in his mind, when he landed, I'm going to get out of this hole. And for the rest of his life, he did. for the rest of his life, he vehemently overcame multiple challenges, including discrimination, poverty, a ton of other things, and became one of the first Spanish-speaking attorneys in California and the nation, and did awesome, awesome work helping others. When I was reading that part, I came to a point where I wrote a letter to my dad, and it is in the book. And it is in reading that letter that I realized, wow, my sons need to hear this. And so I played for them the recording. And my hope is that when they read this someday, when they hear it from my mouth, that my father experienced being placed with strangers, that somehow it helps them to not have shame about having been sent to relatives at one of the most difficult times in my life, when their father and I were struggling, and when it was deemed in their best interests to be with relatives. I could argue left and right whether that was the best thing for them, and I don't think it was. I think families should all have opportunities to all go together to get the help that they need. In the depths of trauma triggers, in the depths of reaching for a drink, I made the mistake of not having the tools yet to deal with trauma triggers. And I admitted my drinking, and it resulted in my kids being sent to relatives. Thank God, to relatives. But the most important thing about that, and I'm sharing a lot, I share a lot, because when we share shame as banned, when we share shaming as banned, that is spiritually advocating for ourselves. My sons will hopefully hear that they're amazing. Is this connecting again? My sons will hopefully hear that their Opie, that was a hero to so many, who had scholarships in a school named after him, who was adored and loved, that he too was put away with strangers for a brief time, afraid, with no answers, no adult explaining to him what's going on. I'm sure that that must have created a ton of fears and possibly shame in his head. My sons hearing his story may help them to give an entire different interpretation of what happened several years ago. Thankfully reunited with my children, thankfully able to hopefully give them life skills so they don't suffer in shame, so they have a parent that can recognize trauma responses and hopefully share skills. Hopefully, shame will never bring them to the darkness that I experienced. Hopefully, shaming from others when they are responding to pain will bounce off them. So here right now, I am going to share that letter that I have in the book that's written to my dad. It is a tough one I read, an even tougher I wrote, but boy, oh boy, did it help me ban the shame within. So I'm gonna read this, okay? My father was 7 when his world was torn apart, when Margarita was stricken with tuberculosis while his father was away serving in the U.S. Navy during World War II. His mother was abruptly sent away to a sanitarium in another state. So little Wally, my father, was removed from his home and placed in foster care with strangers. Daddy, did you know she had no choice and they made her leave? Or did you think she chose to just get up and go? My God, the pain that would bring. Did you give up hope or cry alone? Did anyone explain what was really going on? Could they? Should they? What could have been said to help you through? Because, Daddy, I went through the same thing as a mother too. My boys heard that, and maybe just knowing that their Opie, a hero to many, experienced the same, will help them to ban any shame that they may carry in them for having been temporarily separated from their mother. Sending warm hugs to everybody. Spiritually advocate for your truth and your true self. Order Home is within you. Let me know if you do a review on Amazon or Goodreads, and I will send you some bookmarks. Check out some upcoming events, sign up for the newsletter, and just know your truth is the only thing that matters. Sending hugs. Bye.